Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bergen Stages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and today we have a very special show for you because we're going to take our sights away from live theater and look at the cinema, because we will have a special event coming up on June 21st, which will be the world premiere of a film called Will Reading. And today I have the director, the writer, one of the stars, and an alumni of Bergen Community College as our guest, Jamie Insalako. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Great having you here. So we're excited about the film, and we'll talk about that in a few seconds, but I want them to get to know who the heck you were. Where did you come from? I know you were here at Bergen, but where were you before you came to Bergen Community College?
I went to Bogota High School, and then I came straight here, and I was here for several years, as some of us take a little bit longer than others. And after I finished here, I went on to William Patterson and studied English composition.
And your interest in theater, I know, because you did some theater while you were here at Bergen. You were a communication major here at Bergen?
No, I studied professional studies here, which is the science version of liberal arts. Very similar in your course catalog.
Right, and very transferable, so it's great because it's all the core courses that you take, and then you can transfer over to Will.
Both are very core-oriented, and I took Intro to Theater here as one of my gen eds, and they required a few stage hours, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just be involved because I'm interested in theater. And from there, I did a ton of work-study tech here in theater, and that just kind of renewed my interest in this, and I took some TV broadcast classes and editing, and I just kind of went on from there. It kind of reinvigorated.
Did you do any theater in high school? Did you participate?
I did. I did tech and acting, but I kind of lost interest in it as, you know, by the time I got to be a senior. My high school was 7 through 12, so it really went on for a while, and by the end I was like, I don't know if I want to do this
I've done
anymore.
that. I've already, yeah. So then coming back here, you captured a little bit more of it, and then discovering a love of tech as well, to behind the scenes with the lights, and in front of the footlights. You like to.
Yeah, very much so. You know, Bergen's resources were just much bigger than my high school, and you know, it's just like, oh boy, there's just all this stuff, you know, and more tools and more lights, and you know, a bigger booth with newer technology, and it just got me really excited, and made me realize just how much I love just getting things together, building a project, and then just kind of watching other people actually be the ones out there, and just feeling very content to just sit in the back and do those things that keep the show
as
moving.
a running crew or a light board operator or stage manager, something like that.
Yeah, very much so.
But you did do on stage here as well.
I did do that one bit in Romeo and Juliet.
A bit, but it was a good bit.
Yes, yeah,
right. I think that's where we met. I think we met back.
I think that might have been.
You graduated 2004.
I think so.
A couple of years after I had started here, so that's when we got to know each other through a few of the stage things that were happening there. But that Yeah, and so you took broadcasting here courses as well. I took
TV 1 and 2 and an editing class here, yes.
That's great to know, because we focus so much on live theater here, and when I have the actors on or backstage people, we talk about the courses that they have to take, and I know a lot of our students watch the show and would like to know what's involved in those kind of courses, and will they help you as a future director, writer for theater or film?
I think it will. The way the TV 1 and 2 were designed when I was here is that there is a very heavy emphasis, maybe from a scholastic standpoint you'd call it a lab, but we were in the studio a lot. And even if you don't think live television or television to tape is, well, I'm sure it's not to tape anymore, but I'm sure that experience, just being in the room with the equipment, with the people while it's happening, it's just a huge eye-opener.
So do they have a professional crew come in and do, or do you actually run the camera?
The classes I took was all student-oriented. There was a professor and a support person to help us, but we were running the entire show, both semesters. And the editing class was also that way too, you know. It's just like, okay, here's some footage, we're gonna edit it together, and we're gonna go right in and be hands-on.
I've been involved in one of the classes. It might have been television one, and I think you kind of rotate, if I remember right. You might be camera one for this show. You might be in the director for a show. Each episode you taped or something.
Yeah, we had groups and we took turns. So if it was your group's turn, somebody from your group had to be the director and really had to have an idea and run the show, and maybe even be the talent that was running the interviews and so forth like that. I also took a stage electrics course, which was very interesting here. We put a lot of lights together and set up lights for shows and red light plots, and that got me into other jobs outside of here. I worked on some concerts.
Oh, nice!
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah,
Great,
I got
great,
to I got to work on the Warped Tour. I got to do one night on
Oh, that's great.
other shows. It's been so long. I tend to
And
forget.
now, is there? And I think there is. I think I know the answer to this, but maybe is there a difference between lighting for stage and lighting for camera? Is there a?
Yeah, I think it's, for me, it's much easier to make a mistake for camera because you really need to get those 3 points of lighting, to try to separate the background and also not forget to light the background.
Right,
and who knows how many lights you have and what techniques you can use to kind of get by on what little you might have and bounce the light off the ceiling. That's a good trick. But I always found for stage, you could cheat a little bit. While you have this opportunity to do all these different things with gobo and color on stage, you can also just kind of cheat a little bit if you have to, and it's like, let's just turn on all the lights and make sure that
Everybody's
we're not.
lighting, everything's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can kind of get by sometimes in theater, whereas on front of the camera, if you make a mistake with color or something, you could come up with something that's going to cost you a lot of time in post. And if there is no post and it's live, then you're in
Now,
trouble.
did you do any of this camera work or anything in high school, or was it just here that you started?
No, it was just here.
Oh.
That was really when I started touching cameras.
And did that continue on at William Patterson?
No, I studied composition, just mostly the art of writing English.
Because I know they have a great communication course classes there, and for TV and film.
Yes, they have a very large department. But at that point, I decided I really wanted to focus on writing, and I guess I felt like I'd gotten a base here, and writing was where I thought my focus was going to go. So that's.
And it did. As I have your September 22nd, 2003, we did a reading of your play called Hunting the Stars.
Right.
So yeah, and so I kept it with me when I said, "Oh, Jamie's coming to the show." Just remember, we did a dessert theater event there where we just kind of read it out loud, and this was one of your first plays you had written.
It's the only thing I've written for the stage.
For the stage.
I kind of forgot about it.
Well, I'm going to give it back to you because I made a copy of it for myself. So now you have it just in case you.
It's a real blast from the past. It's just something I hadn't thought about, and it's as I recall,
it's great.
It's dramatic. It's kind of a downer, as I recall, and I've kind of moved into more of a comedy medium now. So. It's different. I'm curious to read it. I haven't, I haven't
to go back
it.
because I think it's great. It's a one act. It was a short play that we had done the reading with some of our actors in a room. Had some guests there to give you some feedback. Had a little chat with our little dessert theater. But that was fun. And I just remember, and I reread it again, and it's really good. Don't put it away yet. Sometimes when you write a play or a film, it's not going to be done in 6 months. It's going to take a few years and maybe even 14 years to come back to it and say, I've got such a great project here. Let's see where it goes. Maybe it becomes a film. But you said you're getting into comedy. Why more than drama? What's the?
I think it feels very natural to me to just create dialogue that has this comedic spin to it. It just seems like that's what comes out. Even if I want to tackle something serious, I just feel like that's just what ends up on the page. And I suppose I don't feel you should fight that. If that's what's happening, you should let that be. And if you want to make changes later, that's something you can look at. But in that first initial magical process of whatever's happening, I just like to put it out on the page, and that just tends to be what comes out.
Well, that's and
me.
you surround yourself with great actors, fun actors, and so that kind of leads me into talking a little bit about Will Reading. Will Reading, again, we're going to be premiering Will Reading here on the 21st of June at the Saccone Theater, and Jamie has written it. You've directed it. You're starring in it with several other alumni involved with the show. But how long did this process take? We were talking about, it's not overnight sometimes. How long did it take you to put this together?
A very long time. I think I started writing in 13, and I'm probably going to do one more sound edit before we premiere. So, that's 4 years
So
right
4
there.
years, yeah.
I shot it by myself. I didn't have a crew, so that made it kind of difficult. And everybody in the film, has lives and jobs and even children now. So, there's not always a lot of time. So even though we had infinite time, we could take as long as we wanted to make the movie, we only had these finite gaps of, 3 or 4 hours to work in. So between time and limitations of, just not being able to do certain things or shots that I had imagined because it was just too technically difficult.
And sometimes you need a whole crew to be able to do some of these things, if it's not just stopping traffic, to have some PAs out on the...
Or even just moving the camera in the living room. There were just times where I was like, I have this idea for this shot, and I was just like, there's just no time. I have, all 4 of the actors here, and we've got to go. We've got to get through these pages tonight. Like, I can't stop and do this 15-minute setup and this shot I'm going to have to do. And I would just say, nope, that's not happening.
So some of the rewrites happen along the way still, or maybe not rewriting the dialogue because it fits into the location that you have, kind of?
It was more of a look thing. I had these ideas for how things should look and how I wanted to move the camera, and a lot of those things just didn't pan out, and I would just put the camera on a tripod and be like, okay, let's go, or I just put the camera on my shoulder and be like, let's go.
So this is huge. What made you want to even take on such a huge project? Or did it just grow along the way and went, oh my God, now I'm in it?
I knew that it was going to be difficult. I knew it was going to take a long time. I knew I wasn't going to have a crew. I knew all that when I was writing it, so I tried not to write things that I couldn't accomplish by myself. Because I knew there wasn't going to be anybody else. And I just tried to make it happen when I could.
And you can't, I mean, we've probably heard a lot about low-budget films and all this, which this kind of fits into that low-budget category, but until you told me this morning that there was no crew, I thought you had a full crew there. I mean, it really looks so professional, done with all your lighting people and your people on the other side of the camera there, so it's not even apparent that you're not filled with a huge crew there, which kudos to you for getting that, because it's such a fun film. So just a little bit back before we talk about the plot of the film. So you got the idea to do this film. Where did this idea come?
Well, I'd written a screenplay when I was here, actually, and I was like, oh, I'll revisit that because that seems like a film I could make by myself. It just took place in one location in one house. And I just kind of flipped through it quickly, and I was like, it just wasn't very exciting. There wasn't anything interesting. There wasn't, like, the catalyst was not particularly exciting. And I thought, no, I'll just write something new. I know what I'm doing, or what I can do, rather. And I was like, I know we're just going to have this one location thing. Clue is a great classic from 80s, and it's a comedy. I knew it, and I was like, that's all in one static location, so clearly it can be done. There are lots of movies that just take place in one location, and it seemed like a perfectly reasonable thing to try.
And where'd you get the equipment from? Where did you have cameras and all that kind of stuff?
I just went out and bought stuff.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
You can accomplish things relatively affordably compared to even 15 years ago. Like, you couldn't get an HD high quality image for $2,000 in 2001. I don't think you could. Maybe you could. LED lighting certainly has brought down the cost and the temperature of lighting, so it's not nearly as hot as it used to be. So that's another big bonus that has just changed things.
awesome,
You know,
awesome.
and editing software, of course, has also come down.
So money was spent wisely. We're going to have to take a short break, but we're going to come back and talk about the film itself, talk about the plot, and we have a little clip to show you as well. So we'll take a break and come right back and join us talking about Will Reading with Jamie and Sulaco.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Welcome back to Bergen Stages Television. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and today we've been talking to Jamie and Sulaco, who's our writer, director, producer, cameraman, everything about this film called Will Reading, which will be doing a world premiere here at Bergen Community College on June 21st at the Saccone Theater. When we left, we were talking about the film itself, and I know that we've got a few alums in the film. We've got Greg Vorab, Dan Conrad, Mark Seidenstein,
Right.
are three Bergen alums that are in the show, and you worked with them here at Bergen. Is this where you all met?
Yes, I think perhaps they had known each other beforehand. I'm not sure about that, but I came to know all three of them here, working on various different shows.
And all comedic. I mean, these guys are so funny, just watching these guys work
Oh,
together. I
yeah.
think they did a lot of comedy improv with the theater club while they were here, so watching them work would be fun. And that's what's fun about this, is you can tell their comic skills are you just really punctuated that in the film. So as we talk about the film, the idea for Will Reading, you said you had written something here before and kind of went that direction with it. So tell us a little bit about the plot.
The plot centers around Will, who has just recently died, and his wife and his twin brother and two of their friends. They have discovered that he left them a note, a addendum to his will, and they're all going to get together and read it and find out exactly what else he has to tell them, which hopefully benefits them all financially.
They all hope so.
They all hope so, because they all need it.
And so we actually have a short clip. Can you set up the clip that we're about to see? What has happened right to get us into this?
Sure. The Wendy character is hosting this dinner party where they're all going to get together, and just to have some polite social etiquette, they're going to have dinner before they actually read the will, and this kind of sets up exactly the relationships between these characters.
So why don't we watch a little bit of the clip, and we'll come back and talk about it when we get back. So this is just a little teaser here for Will Reading.
I'm just saying we all have problems, and I don't think anybody here is particularly happy with their situation. And I'm not going to sit here, okay, and pretend that their marriage was anything more than a charade. You need to stop now. Oh, get a grip. And by the way, you need to learn how to work the privacy settings on your social media a little better.
I went out on one date with that moron when Will and I were separated, and he photoshopped my face onto that picture.
So you're saying the Princess Leia Return of the Jedi costume is not tucked away in your attic? Because that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
I'm happy with my situation.
Excuse me for a second. What's that?
A second ago, you were saying nobody at the table was happy with their situation in life. I'm good.
You have no idea what you're talking about. Will made it this way with his high stakes, short selling whatever.
Is that why he killed himself?
Dude!
He did not kill himself.
Oh, it was you then.
Okay. This is a good opportunity for everyone to take a deep breath. Good. Have a sip of wine. Take another deep breath.
This is not over.
And we can focus our energy in a more positive direction.
What a great clip. I don't know how you guys kept a straight face during shooting this. You must have had hours of just laughing at each other watching these guys work.
There were moments, particularly when it would come to the actual performance and the physicality of it. You know, somebody would just make a face, or just we'd come up with a bit of business that just suddenly took something that was kind of funny on the page to something that just had us ruining takes left and right.
And that's where their improv skills come in. You hire the actors because you know that they've got these nuances to them, these improbabilities that bring a character to life.
Sure, sure. That was a big part of why, particularly with Dan Conrad, Greg Vorab, and Mark Seitenstein, I had these actors in mind when I was writing. You know, just being people I know and people I knew that were interested in acting. I was like, they'll probably agree, and even if they don't, I was like, well, that at least lets me know what I'm looking for.
Right.
And that worked out.
How'd you find Katie? Now, Katie's the only. She's wonderful. She's a find because I think she's terrific in the film. How did you find her? Where did she?
She's tremendous. I initially had in mind another alumni for that role, and she didn't end up being able to do it as we got closer to shooting. And then another alumni came to my attention, and then it turned out she couldn't do it.
Wow.
And she recommended Katie. She said, oh, she's much better than me. You should just go with her.
Oh, interesting.
And by then I was like, yeah, sure, whoever. You know, there's a thing in professional baseball where they're like, we just need a warm body. Just get somebody out there. And that's just kind of how I felt. You know, I was starting to get panicked. I was like, we got to get started, or else we're never going to start. And she ended up just being tremendous.
Oh, she is. I mean, she really pulls this all together.
Oh,
she's
yeah.
And tough being the only female. You know, it's like
yeah. I mean, and there's so much on her shoulders because she's in like virtually not every scene, but close. There's so much. It's so much on her shoulders, and she just did it. And it makes it look easy.
Yeah, and true ensemble. I think if you try to figure out what that word ensemble means, I think you found it with these set of 4 people working together.
I think
you're
so.
included in the 5 of you.
Well, I'm not in it that much. I just thought, well, you know, if this is the only movie I'm ever going to make, I hope there's a small part in it for me.
And you can write it.
Yeah, and I just thought it's like, yeah, look at that guy. That's great. You know, I just, you know, wanted that for myself selfishly. But the 4 of them really come together as a unit and push together one consistent tone that I think could be difficult to do, that really ended up working in a way that exceeded my expectations.
And they're not selfish. They're very giving to each other, which is, you know, so wonderful. They're not. They feed the other one to let the other one get the laugh, and that's incredibly to find actors that.
And I think that's something that is helpful when you've had actors that have worked together before, maybe especially in the case of comedy too. I think if you look into Shawshank Redemption, they had several weeks to get together to look like they were people who'd known each other for years and years and years. And I already had people that had been together for years, and it was written that way, but it's true, they do know each other. And I think that brings a touch of realness to it that was sorely needed.
Yeah, no, well, it so works. So on June 21st here at Bergen Community College, we're going to show a world premiere of this. It's going to be absolutely for free. It's going to be at 7:30 p.m. in our Saccone Theater. So tell us a little bit about that night. So we're going to show the film, and I think we're fortunate enough to get you and several of the actors to.
Yes, I think we're going to have everybody. We're super close. Katie is in another show, and she's just waiting to get her schedule. And there was another point during the filming where we had to share Katie with another show too, because she's always working. So we'll have it almost everybody for sure.
Hopefully we're going to try to get all the actors and yourself to talk. So if you're a student or know a student that's interested in film, or you're just curious about how you make your own film. I mean, so many people are walking around with their iPhones doing films. This is a little bit better than that, a little bit more upscale than that. So you'll have a chance to have a conversation with the director and the actors in the show as well. So after the filming, after we show the film, we'll have probably like a half hour, 45 minutes to be able to talk to you guys about the movie. Which is fun. So thank you for doing that. I think this is so great for our Alumni Association to say, hey, look at what we're doing here, and to have you and these guests to talk about it. And there's so many things that we'd love to teach about it, but But nothing's better than having somebody who's just done it, who's just put up a film, and to be able to talk about the process is just the wisdom that you have, because they don't know what they don't know, but you know what they don't know. It's like, so let me warn you, if you're going to get this, if you're going to start this trek into film, this is what you're going to have to do. And then what happens after this world premiere? Is it off to go to competitions?
We are
festivals?
trying to get the movie into some film festivals. But now, which was certainly not the case in the past, even when I was here, there are other options. There are other things you can do with your film to get it in front of just eyeballs. You can push it onto Netflix. You can push it onto Amazon. You can even just put it onto YouTube.
Right.
There are ways to get your movie out there.
But it's great to have the accolades that it was at a festival, I
Oh,
assume.
sure,
And
yeah.
is that a difficult process to get a film into a festival?
It's kind of like applying to college. You know, you fill out a bunch of forms. You know, you send them a little bit of money.
And they view the whole film and make a decision after they've
Ideally,
seen it?
I wonder, but
But they say they do, and that's how
they
they
say
base
they
their
do.
decision.
You know,
And then you're invited to come to the competition or to
Yeah,
the festival or whatever it
hopefully,
is?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
That
And is this just nationally, or are you thinking Canada? Are you thinking internationally?
yeah. We've applied to some film festivals outside of the United States, but mostly in the United States.
Within the U.S., yeah, so that you can travel to them as well.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot easier.
Yeah. But I think it looks cool if you've been to the festival or been a part of it. I always remember seeing it on the
Yeah,
cover that
yeah,
just at the
that-
Cannes Film Festival,
Sure.
kind of thing like that. And then you're right. Then you can put it on YouTube, and there's no competition on YouTube. They don't, or there's no special accolades. YouTube doesn't have a festival. I guess that's what I'm saying, or Amazon.
No, I don't know if they do, but I think there's a way to distribute your movie without any sort of process or help. If you get to a point where you're just like, I just want to get in front of people, you can do it now. It's possible.
Which is, like you said, years ago, that would never happen. You're running from place to place to try to get people
And it would just sit on a shelf in your room forever. But that's not true anymore.
Good. Well, so there's outlets. So again, and we're so lucky to have you here, to be showing it here at Bergen Community College. So the idea is that we're going to show it here, meet the cast, have a conversation with them, and then we're able to send you guys off into the world to come back with. And now, are you working on the next one? Is that happening in the process of all this?
I do have an idea, and I am writing a little bit off and on here and there. Whether or not I'll ever get to do that, I don't know. It's a little bit bigger, and ideally, I would like to make a movie with a small crew. Just
a little bit of help,
just
carrying the
yeah,
camera.
and, so I can do some things that I wasn't able to do in this movie.
Locations moving is easier and all that kind of stuff. But
And-
I think the learning curve has gone up so high, what you've learned doing this.
Oh,
that
sure.
To apply it to the next one's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's, it's like going to school. It's important to have a basis, and if you want to make a complicated film, it's good to have made a simpler film. If you want to make a more technically complicated film where the camera's moving and things like that, it's nice to have done this. It was quite the education.
And it's not a short. It's
No.
it's a full-length film
Yeah.
that called Will Reading. Gosh, Jamie, this has gone by too fast, but it's so great to have you on the show. And we hope that you will think about coming to see our production being shown at the Saccone Theater on the 21st of June. It's coming up very shortly, 7:30 p.m. in the Saccone Theater. It's free. If you want to get tickets, go to tickets.bergen.edu. They're free tickets, but then we know how many people are coming so that we can prep for you. And then we'll have a talk back with Jamie and some of the cast members right after the show. So hope to see you there. Come see us. And Jamie, thank you again for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
Absolutely.
The critics have spoken.
I know what you're going to say.
Will Reading is an entertaining and funny comedy which has plenty of surprises.
Right.
Everyone's having a lot of fun in this movie.
That's not unreasonable.
Now this is one fun movie.
Great!
Will Reading has action, excitement,
Maybe I'll touch a boob, I don't know.
drama,
Flowers are fake.
You're all right.
and whatever this is. What else is there to say? Visit willreadingmovie.com for screening info and updates on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital download releases.
Great.